Marcus Eldrin stood silently among the gathering of the Galactic Council, his eyes scanning the diverse array of alien representatives seated in a grand amphitheater aboard the Harbinger of Peace. The atmosphere was thick with tension, each delegate wary, their minds shielded by translators that simultaneously decoded dozens of languages. As we convene, Marcus began, his voice calm yet projecting authority, let us remember that peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice. Of understanding. A Murithian delegate, a tall, insectoid creature with translucent wings, clicked its mandibles skeptically. Understanding, human Marcus? Your species is young. What do you understand of the wars that have scarred the galaxy for millennia? Marcus smiled slightly, a gesture lost on many non-human observers. I understand more than you might presume, Ambassador ZYLK. But today, I'm here to ensure that the past does not dictate our future. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Diplomats from the Rhaegar Confederacy, beings of pure energy contained in shimmering suits, pulsated brighter. And how do you propose to achieve this, human Marcus? By preaching, or do you have substantive proposals? Reaching into his coat, Marcus pulled out a small, holographic projector and placed it on the podium. With a flick, a map of contested star systems appeared, floating above their heads. Here is my proposal. A realignment of borders, resource sharing, and mutual defense pacts. Concrete steps towards a balanced peace. A Gasparian, a thick-skinned humanoid, grunted. Words are air. What guarantees can you offer against betrayal? Before Marcus could respond, a sudden sharp noise echoed through the hall, and a shock wave of energy swept across the room. Marcus felt a searing pain in his chest as he was thrown back, his body slamming against the cold metal wall. The room erupted into chaos, with delegates scrambling for cover as security forces swarmed in. Struggling to his feet, Marcus felt an odd sensation washing over him, like a flood of memories and power, awakening from deep within. He looked down at his chest, expecting to see a fatal wound, but instead, there was nothing. No blood, no tear in his clothing. His mind raced, and flashes of a past life surged forward, the forgotten Titan, a figure of myth, once a harbinger of peace across the galaxy. As the security chief, a burly tavern with scales as hard as armor, approached cautiously, Marcus raised his hand. I am unharmed, Chief Roker. But we need to find out who did this, now. Chief Roker nodded, his eyes narrowing. This was no minor disruption, Ambassador. This was an assassination attempt. Marcus's gaze hardened as he surveyed the room. This council was meant to be a sanctuary. If someone here believes that killing me would further their cause. He let the words hang in the air, the implication clear. The council fell silent, the weight of the attack settling in. Marcus continued, we must stand united, or divided we will fall to the shadows that seek to consume us. Over the next hours, as investigations were hastily conducted, Marcus met privately with small groups of delegates, his manner persuasive yet assertive. As he spoke of unity and resilience, his words seemed to carry a weight that hadn't been there before, his presence almost palpable. In the dimly lit quarters of the Harbinger, Marcus stood before a large viewport, staring out at the stars. The reflection of Ambassador ZYLK appeared beside him. You have handled this crisis with unexpected prowess, human Marcus. There's talk that you're not what you seem. Turning to face ZYLK, Marcus considered his next words carefully. Perhaps none of us are, Ambassador. We all have our histories, our secrets. I was chosen for this role because of my dedication to peace. What happened today will not change that. If anything, it only strengthens my resolve. ZYLK's antennae twitched, a sign of contemplation. If what you propose works, it would change the dynamic of the council. Perhaps, we need that change. Marcus nodded, a plan forming in his mind. We need more than change, ZYLK. We need a revolution in how we think about each other. Trust doesn't come easily, but it's the only path forward. As the council reconvened, a new air of determination filled the room. Marcus took to the podium once more, his figure now commanding attention with an almost regal aura. Let us not be defined by fear, he declared, his voice resonating through the chamber. Let us be defined by our courage to forge a path forward together. Not as separate races, but as a united galaxy. The applause that followed was not merely polite but filled with a new energy, a sense of hope. As Marcus stepped down, he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. But for the first time, he also knew he had the power to face them, not just as a human diplomat but as the Titan, reborn. The tension in the Galactic Council chamber was palpable as Marcus Eldrin faced the gathered delegates, his demeanor calm yet commanding. The recent assassination attempt had shaken the foundations of the Council, but Marcus used the incident as a catalyst to push forward his agenda for peace and cooperation. As we stand on the brink of potential disaster, let us choose a different path, Marcus began, his voice resonant, reaching every corner of the room. A path that leads us not into further conflict but towards a shared future. A Vala representative, her skin shimmering with bioluminescent light, stood up. And why should we trust you, human? You speak of unity and peace, but your past is as opaque as the void of space. Marcus met her gaze steadily. Trust must be earned, Ambassador Krell. I ask not for blind faith, but for a chance to prove the worth of my words through action. From the shadows of the back row, a gruff voice interrupted, actions speak louder than words, human. What action do you propose that can assure us of your intentions? Thank you for that, Marcus acknowledged the challenge with a nod. In light of the attacks, and the clear danger it presents to not just me but all of us, I propose an immediate security summit. We pool our resources, share our intelligence, and ensure such breaches are not repeated. Murmurs of approval mixed with skeptical whispers filled the air. Marcus continued, furthermore, I propose that this summit be held not in the secure and fortified centers of our respective territories but here, on the harbinger of peace, under the watchful eyes of all factions. An ancient Selenian elder, his voice as old as the stars, rose to his feet, leaning heavily on his intricately carved staff. A bold move, human Marcus. Hosting the summit here, in neutral space, where no single faction has the upper hand. It demonstrates a commitment to transparency. Yes, Elder Morian, Marcus replied, respecting the traditional address. Transparency, accountability, and mutual respect are the pillars upon which our new relations must be built. The room settled into a thoughtful silence, broken only by the soft hum of the space station's life support systems. Then, a young Tarkan pilot, known for her fierce combat skills and sharp wit, stood up. Let's say we agree to this summit, and let's say it even succeeds in strengthening our security measures. What then? How do we address the underlying currents of mistrust and aggression that led to the assassination attempt in the first place? That is the crux of our challenge, Marcus admitted, his tone earnest. The summit is only the first step. Beyond that, we need a structured framework for ongoing dialogue, a continuous exchange of ideas, concerns, and aspirations. A Norbeck diplomat, his scales reflecting his cautious nature, interjected, continuous dialogue requires continuous commitment. Are all here prepared to offer that? Or will this be another fleeting attempt, abandoned at the next sign of trouble? I believe we are ready, Marcus asserted. We must be. The alternative is a return to isolation and conflict, to a galaxy segmented by fear and suspicion. Is that the legacy we wish to leave for the next generations? His question hung in the air, challenging each delegate to consider their role in shaping the future. Slowly, nods began around the room, a silent but powerful acknowledgement of the shared responsibility. Marcus took advantage of the shift in momentum. Let us then draft the terms of the summit together, now, while the unity of purpose that brought us here is fresh. Let us set an example, not only to our own people but to the universe, that peace is not only possible but sustainable. The drafting process was intense, each faction bringing its own priorities and concerns to the table. Marcus listened, mediated, and gently steered the conversations, ensuring every voice was heard, every fear addressed. By the time the session adjourned, they had not only a framework for the summit but also the beginnings of a broader peace accord. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many paused to nod respectfully at Marcus, seeing him not just as a human diplomat but as a true leader, perhaps the first among equals. Alone in the quiet after the meeting, Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, tempered by the knowledge of the challenges ahead. Tomorrow would bring more negotiations, more opportunities for conflict or cooperation. But tonight, Marcus had turned a crisis into an opportunity, and in doing so, had taken the first real steps toward peace. His thoughts drifted to the legends of the Titan, wondering if perhaps some myths were destined to become reality. As the delegates began to reconvene for the security summit, Marcus Eldrin felt the weight of his dual identity more profoundly than ever. Inside the conference room aboard the Harbinger of Peace, whispers of his miraculous recovery from the assassination attempt mingled with cautious optimism about the summit's potential. "We have a framework," Marcus declared to the room, "but it is just that, a framework. Today, we turn it into actionable plans. Are we all prepared to commit, not just in words but in actions?" A chorus of affirmations filled the room, but Marcus noticed the hesitance in some voices. His mind, now attuned to more than just spoken words, sensed their underlying concerns and fears. "I understand the reservations that some of you may have," Marcus continued, addressing the unspoken tensions. "True peace is not simply the silencing of guns, it is the building of trust. And trust is built through shared challenges and mutual victories." An Elveran scientist, her skin a mosaic of vibrant colors that changed with her mood, raised a point. "Human Marcus, while your words inspire, inspiration alone cannot dismantle the established protocols and security measures that have divided us for centuries. What practical steps do you suggest we take?" Marcus nodded, acknowledging her skepticism. "A valid point, Dr. Silex. Let's begin with intelligence sharing. I propose a pilot project where each faction contributes data on known threats, not just external but internal as well. A shared database, accessible to all, but with stringent checks to ensure it's not abused." A murmur of surprise and interest swept through the room. Intelligence sharing was a delicate issue, fraught with the potential for espionage and betrayal. To safeguard against misuse, Marcus added, quickly capturing their attention again, an independent oversight committee will be established. This committee will include representatives from each faction and will have the power to audit the database and monitor access logs. Transparency will be its guiding principle. A grizzled veteran of many galactic skirmishes, General Vorn, representing the Tarkan military, voiced his support. "I've fought against many of you in this room," he said, his voice gruff with emotion. "If we can share our darkest secrets to prevent future bloodshed, then I am all for it. Let's not let our past conflicts dictate our future opportunities." Encouraged by the general's endorsement, others began to voice their agreement. The proposal was ambitious, risky even, but it presented a tangible step towards the transparency and cooperation Marcus had championed. "As we move forward with this," Marcus said, transitioning to the next phase of his plan, "we also need to address the issue of enforcement. Without enforcement, even the best agreements are but words on paper." He proposed the formation of a joint peacekeeping force, one that would operate under the mandate of the Galactic Council, staffed by personnel from all factions, trained together to serve not their home worlds but the Council itself. "This peacekeeping force," Marcus explained, "will not only enforce the accords we agree upon here but will also serve as a symbol of our unity. Their presence will reassure the public that we are committed to this path." The idea of a joint force stirred various reactions. Some delegates were cautious, wary of creating a power that could potentially turn against them. Others saw it as a necessary evolution in interstellar relations. To ensure that this force remains under our collective control, Marcus anticipated the concern, its operations will be governed by a charter that requires unanimous approval from the Council for all major actions. "And to demonstrate our commitment to this new era, I will volunteer to be the first liaison between the Force and the Council." The proposal was bold, direct, and fraught with potential pitfalls, but it was also a gesture of goodwill, a sign that Marcus, and by extension humanity, was willing to take the lead in sacrifice and trust. As the meeting drew to a close, the delegates tasked their aides with drafting the details of the proposals, setting the stage for a series of negotiations that would continue over the coming months. Marcus, feeling the ancient power of the Titan stirring within him, knew that the path ahead would be perilous. But he also knew that for the first time in centuries, there was a real hope for peace. The council adjourned with a sense of cautious optimism. As they exited, many stopped to clap Marcus on the back or nod in respect, gestures that would have been unthinkable just a few months prior. Alone in his quarters, Marcus looked out at the stars, contemplating the road ahead. The Titan within him was a source of strength, but also a reminder of the responsibilities he had to the galaxy. With a deep breath, he prepared himself for the next phase of his mission, knowing that each step forward was a step away from the old fears and toward a new future. Marcus Eldrin stood at the forefront of the newly established Joint Peacekeeping Force, addressing a diverse group of military personnel from various galactic factions. Each member wore a uniform that subtly incorporated elements from their respective cultures, symbolizing their unity in the new era of cooperation the Galactic Council hoped to achieve. "Today marks a significant chapter in our shared history," Marcus began, his voice resonant in the large assembly hall. "Here, we stand together, not as separate factions, but as protectors of peace for the entire galaxy. Each of you has been chosen not only for your skills and bravery but for your commitment to the greater good." As Marcus spoke, the representatives listened intently, their expressions a mix of determination and cautious optimism. The establishment of the peacekeeping force had been contentious, fraught with debates and negotiations, but the presence of these dedicated individuals spoke to the potential success of this bold initiative. "Our first mission will be to stabilize the border regions," Marcus continued, outlining the operational plans. "These areas have been hotbeds of conflict and unrest, exploited by those who profit from war. Your presence will send a powerful message, that the era of unchecked aggression is over." The assembly hall buzzed with murmured conversations as teams began to form, discussing logistics, strategies, and the challenges they expected to face. Marcus moved among them, offering guidance and encouragement, his leadership both a beacon of hope and a reminder of the stakes involved. As the meeting progressed, a young pilot from the Zoltran Confederacy approached Marcus. "Ambassador Eldrin, if I may, there's a concern among my people about the delegation of authority. How can we ensure that this force doesn't overstep or become a tool for any single faction?" Marcus regarded the pilot with a nod of respect for his forthrightness. "An excellent question, Lieutenant Garrel. Oversight will be rigorous. A council made up of representatives from all factions will review all major decisions. Additionally, every member of this force will be equipped with a recording device during operations, providing transparency and accountability to the public." Garrel seemed reassured, and as he returned to his group, Marcus felt a small victory in bridging the gap of trust, a gap that had once seemed insurmountable. The remainder of the session focused on tactical training and cultural sensitivity, essential for the diverse force to operate effectively as a unit. Experts in diplomatic negotiation, combat tactics, and ethics were brought in to prepare the peacekeepers not just as soldiers, but as ambassadors of peace. Towards the end of the day, as the groups began their specialized training sessions, Marcus received an urgent message from the Intelligence Oversight Committee. An unknown threat was identified moving towards one of the key strategic locations they were sworn to protect. Without hesitation, Marcus convened a quick strategy meeting with the unit commanders. "We have a situation that requires immediate attention," he announced, displaying the data on a large screen. The threat was a rogue faction known to oppose the Council's peace initiatives, now attempting to destabilize a critical region. "This is our first real test," Marcus declared, his tone firm yet optimistic. "We will deploy in 2 units. One will intercept the rogue faction, the other will secure the region and protect the civilians. Coordination and non-lethal measures are our priorities. We must handle this with precision and care to uphold the values we stand for." As the peacekeepers geared up, Marcus felt the weight of his dual role as diplomat and commander. He knew the success of this operation would define the future credibility and effectiveness of the peacekeeping force. He joined the lead unit, ready to face the challenges head-on. The operation unfolded with intense precision. Marcus, at the forefront, negotiated with the leaders of the rogue faction while his teams worked to neutralize threats and secure the area. His ability to empathize with the dissenters, understanding their fears and grievances, played a crucial role in de-escalating the situation. After hours of tense negotiations and careful operations, the rogue faction stood down, agreeing to a mediated settlement. The peacekeepers' restraint and professionalism turned a potentially violent confrontation into a peaceful resolution. As the force returned to the base, the success of the mission resonated through the ranks. Cheers and congratulations were shared, but the real reward for Marcus was the respect and trust he saw in the eyes of his team and those they had helped. "That was remarkable, Ambassador," a seasoned sergeant from the Ryler military commented as they debriefed. "You've shown us all what we're capable of achieving together." Marcus smiled, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. "Together," he echoed, "is how we'll create a lasting peace." Back aboard the Harbinger of Peace, as Marcus documented the mission's outcomes for the Galactic Council, he reflected on the day's events. Each decision, each action had reinforced his belief in the Council's vision. The path to peace was long and fraught with obstacles, but today had proven that with unity and determination, they could forge a future where the galaxy's diverse inhabitants coexisted in harmony. The aftermath of the successful mission rippled through the Galactic Council, ushering in an era of cautious optimism. Marcus Eldrin, once a simple human diplomat, now celebrated as the catalyst for change, stood before the Council to deliver a briefing on the operation's outcome and its implications for future peace initiatives. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Council, esteemed delegates, and honorable peacekeepers," Marcus began, his voice resonant and filled with a commanding presence that had grown over his tenure. "Today, I stand before you not only to report on a successful operation but to affirm our collective commitment to the vision we have set forth." He paused, allowing his words to permeate the chamber, then continued. "The recent operation against the rogue faction was a testament to what we can achieve when we unite for a common purpose. It was not won by force alone, but through strategy, diplomacy, and a deep respect for the sanctity of life." Around the room, nods and murmurs of agreement met his statement, reflecting the shared relief and renewed belief in the Council's mission. However, Marcus shifted his tone, signaling the weight of his next words. "This is merely the beginning. We have addressed the symptom, but the disease of distrust and fear still lingers in the galaxy. Our efforts must not end with military success but should extend to rebuilding trust and fostering a culture of cooperation." He proposed the next steps, ambitious and far-reaching: the establishment of a galactic rehabilitation program aimed at war-torn regions, education initiatives to promote intercultural understanding, and economic partnerships to ensure shared prosperity. As part of these initiatives, Marcus detailed, we will launch a series of cultural exchanges and joint ventures. These programs will not only help heal the wounds of past conflicts but will lay the foundation for a robust economic and social structure, supportive of all species and cultures. The proposal was bold, its scope vast, and the Council listened intently, weighing the potential impact. Skepticism remained among some members, a natural reaction given the centuries of conflict that had defined their histories. One of the more outspoken skeptics, a veteran diplomat from the Jorian sector, stood to address the assembly. "Ambassador Eldrin, while your words paint a hopeful picture, how do we ensure that these initiatives do not become another layer of bureaucracy that stifles the very growth it aims to support?" Marcus welcomed the challenge with a nod. "An excellent question, and one that I have anticipated. Accountability will be the cornerstone of every program we initiate. Each project will be monitored by a council of representatives from every faction, and results will be reviewed quarterly. We will not proceed without measurable success." Encouraged by his response, the assembly began to warm to the discussion, debating particulars and suggesting amendments. The session, vibrant with active participation, lasted well into the hours, with Marcus mediating and guiding the discourse. As the meeting drew to a close, a resolution was passed with a majority vote in favor of Marcus's proposals. It was a historic moment, one that many would look back on as the turning point in the galaxy's journey towards lasting peace. Following the session, Marcus retreated to his office, a simple room that overlooked the galaxy through a large viewport. He stood there for a long time, watching the stars. His thoughts turned to the road ahead, filled with challenges but also brimming with potential. The Titan within him, a source of strength and wisdom, seemed at peace, its purpose aligned with Marcus's heartfelt mission. He knew that the journey would require not just the might of a Titan but the understanding and compassion of a diplomat. In his solitude, Marcus made a personal vow to continue to lead with integrity, to bridge the divides that had fractured the galaxy for too long. He understood that real peace was more than treaties and agreements, it was built on the everyday interactions, the small acts of kindness, and the willingness to understand one another. As the stars twinkled distantly, reflecting off his eyes, Marcus felt a deep sense of responsibility, not just to the Council or to humanity, but to every creature in the galaxy. With a renewed spirit, he prepared himself for the long but hopeful path ahead, confident that together, they could forge a future bright as the stars themselves.